Our 57-year-old Dodge Dart dash has held up pretty well over the years, but now I think it's time for a facelift. So up to this point, I've been focusing primarily on mechanical issues, you know, like making sure that the car is safe to drive and runs well, but now I'm ready to start making it look pretty. And that's gonna start right here with the dash. Now, I know it looks halfway decent, but I mean, look at it. The paint's faded, the dash pad is cracked, all the chrome and black paint is flaking off. I just think we can do, you know, a little bit better job. What do you think? Think we can bring it back to its former glory? We'll see. So to get this thing done right, pretty much gonna have to get it apart. Now, I may have cheated a little bit already, cause yeah, dashboard's already unbolted. I'm just gonna put you right over here. Ah! You didn't see that. And if you've watched the video where we removed the dash cluster, you'll understand why this is also pretty much already out. Almost. Come on! And of course, our air freshener has to go. It still smells good. Save that for later. With those things out, I can actually try and start getting a lot of this stuff out. I think I want to get this started by getting this wiring harness out of here. So as I'm kind of looking in here to see what needs to come out and what doesn't, yeah, we definitely need the WD-40. I can go ahead and start working some of these connections off. This is our headlight switch and our 4-way flasher. Come on, don't break, please, thank you. There we go. Our fuse box was never really connected in the first place. We'll have to fix that. Next off, back of our ignition. Oh, the wipers, which actually have multiple connections on the back. And we have our fun little speaker connectors here we can go ahead and get popped off. And way down inside here, that's the back of our cigarette lighter, which doesn't work. So I believe this is the ashtray light, which I also think doesn't work. And now it looks like I should just be able to get most of this out, except for radio things. What is going on? Ah, there it is. Missed one on the back of the temperature control. There we go. One dash harness. Now the dash harness is out of the way. I'm gonna go ahead and so we can start working on the other bits and bobs. So once again, my idiocy shows through. You know, I usually pride myself on attention to detail, but as I'm looking at the dash here, we've got this nice bright blue metallic. And as I'm looking at the glove box cover, I'm noticing that it's kind of a darkish blue. And looking at the top side of the dash here, it is also darkish blue. Why does that make me an idiot? Well, because I bought paint. And I even sprayed out a little test card. And sitting my test card underneath, it's close. It's not right, but it's really close to that color. It's not even close to that color. So when I originally looked up colors for the interiors of the 1967 Dodge, I came up with the darkest blue they had for an interior, which was Ensign Blue. And that's what this is supposed to be. Chrysler Ensign Blue. What my dumbass should have done is looked at this here fender tag, because that E code right there is dark blue metallic, which is what I should have gotten. I'll go ahead and get the radio popped out here. Original AM radio. This thing actually still makes noise when you turn it on, and I'm pretty sure if I hooked up a new antenna, it would actually work. With the radio out, I should be able to just grab the controls here and get our heater controls out along with this bezel. I also want to get this bezel here off the glove box, which is going to be accomplished with these two screws here and here. And this will give our glove box handle off as well. These are like really nice metal. I thought, you know, I'm so used to modern day stuff that's all plastic, and I figured because the dash bezel was plastic that, you know, stuff like the radio knobs, which are metal, and that glove box handle would be metal as well. But they're not. It actually makes me pretty happy. Hello, any critters hiding in there? Bezel number 2 down. All right, now I need to work on flashers, the ignition switch, the wipers, and our headlight switch. Actually, I'm gonna start with my headlight switch. Pull your handle out, keep pressure on it, push that button, let your whole handle slide right off. Then I can flip this over, start getting this bad boy off. So all I'm doing is wiggling the switch back and forth, and eventually this guy comes loose. There's some kind of special tool you can get to get these on and off, but who needs that? So for our ignition switch, you can see these little slots in here in this outer ring. I just throw a pair of needle nose in there. That gets it loosened up, which falls right out. Then I have to see if I can get this shroud off without breaking it, but we'll do that once we get it flipped over. Our wiper switch works a little bit differently than our headlight switch does. Got a little set screw in there. We'll just loosen that, pop it off, and then undo this ring. And then that'll leave us with the flasher. That looks really dry, so I think we'll give that some WD-40. While those soak, I'm gonna go ahead and get the dash vents and our speaker here removed. Our dash vents just come out with this little 7/16 kind of weird hollow nut thing. I don't know what they're called, but whatever they're called, just get them out, turn this bad boy a little bit, pops right out. Now, ours, as you can see, are pretty torn up, but don't worry, I got new ones on the way. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the rest of these parts out of the dash, and I'm gonna do it off camera because I wanna run the heater because it's getting cold in here. Now that I've got most of the bits and bobs removed and the chill taken out of the air, it's time to go ahead and bang out some of this rust. Ow! Finger poker! We'll fix that. Apparently we have not yet learned our lesson. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch me weld in the floor pans, or pan. So my plan is to use this little wire wheel here. And yeah, this is probably not the right use for a 1/4 inch impact, but we'll see. Yeah, I think that'll do quite nicely. So I'm gonna go ahead and, spend the next few hours getting this thing stripped down. See you in a bit. I'd have to say that overall it's coming along pretty decent. I'm not so much worried about getting the paint out as I am getting the rust out. But it's been a pretty good test for our new 1/4 inch impact from Harbor Freight. I also want to give this a try. This might be a little too much, but we'll find out. Wow, that thing actually works pretty good. We're gonna do some more with that, but I need ears, so time lapse. I tell you what, that surface conditioning tool, it did a whole lot better job than I thought it was going to. It got into these open areas pretty well. It didn't like to get up into these tighter corners, but overall, I like it. I'm gonna go ahead and finish getting the inside of this banged out. So we got a little bit of surface rust down there on the trough, and either the SCT or the wire wheel will fit in there. And I want to get back up here in this corner as well. I'm gonna finish that up, get the garage cleaned up, call it a night. Because A, fat kid's hungry, and B, work comes early tomorrow. Well, it is the following Saturday, and I got a little bit done off camera. I went ahead and treated the dash frame with a little bit of phosphoric acid to try to handle any rust that I really couldn't get to by mechanical means. What I really want for today is to get this thing in primer. And that's gonna start with a little bit of prep work. The phosphoric acid treatment leaves a little bit of dust on here. So I'm gonna go over this with a brush and get rid of all the crap that's in here. And then I wanna give it a light smoothing with some 220 grit sandpaper to scuff up any leftover paint and get the surface smoothed out and ready for fresh primer. Now with all the sanding done, I wanted to get all that dust off by just hosing it down with a little bit of air from this new air compressor that I traded for, but it has the wrong fitting. No worky worky. So I'm gonna improvise. It worked fairly well. I'm gonna go ahead and finish up my prep work with some spray away glass cleaner and a microfiber rag. This should get rid of any other contaminants, oil, fingerprints, all the fun things. Or you could just throw it in the dirt and wipe dirt all over it. I'm gonna go ahead and do the same with the inside and let it dry. Then I should be ready to shoot some primer on this bad boy. So what I'm using is Duplicolor Automotive 2-in-1. It's a filler and sandable primer, and hopefully I can use that to fill in any scratches that were left behind by either the wire brush or the surface conditioning tool. I'm gonna start with a light coat first, and then I'll come back and hit it a little thicker. We'll see how this lays on. It's not the warmest day outside right now. It's probably 40, 45, but we'll see how it works. So this thing wants 2 light coats followed by 1 medium coat with 10 minutes in between coats. So we'll go check something else out. One of the other things I did yesterday is I started cleaning up on the bezels because I also want to get these painted. So everywhere where we had chipping paint, chipping chrome, I went ahead and hit with a brass wire brush to get as much of that off as I could. Then I went over it with sandpaper to scuff it up and feather out any of the edges. Now, this thing's almost ready for paint, but it's filthy. I'm hoping that that's something that some hot soapy water, a rag, and a plastic bristled brush will handle pretty well. Dunk it. I think I got the bulk of the dirt off. I'm gonna take this inside to rinse it off because I'm too lazy to drag out the hose. One more rinse, we'll sit this aside to dry and throw down our second coat of primer. Went ahead and got the second and third coats here on the top. Got a few imperfections. That was the spider. Got some kind of fuzzy thing. I'm gonna let that third coat dry and then I'm gonna flip it over and do the other side. Then I'm gonna sit it aside for a while and see what we can do with this bad boy. Really wanna get this thing painted, but I don't wanna paint the lens. And see this how the lens is kind of permanently attached. I'm gonna have to see what I can do to mask this thing off. Which presents its own problem because the masking tape I have is a little too thick. But digging around, I did manage to find something thinner. It's old and kind of wavy around the edges, so let's see what we can do. So with a razor knife and a little bit of patience, I think I can get this done pretty well. I thought I had it done pretty well, and then I saw that crack of light across the top, so back at it. And just to make sure we don't get any on the backside, which I'm not gonna spray, let's go ahead and just tape this opening off. Now I just wanna get it sprayed down with some glass cleaner and yeah, let's get some primer on this thing. It's not covering completely, but it's also not horrible for a first coat. While I'm at it, might as well get this guy flipped over and get a coat on the underside of there too. There. Now, just need to wait. While I wait, I'm gonna see if I can't clean up some of this glove box hardware. A little bit of steel wool and some elbow grease, and it shines up halfway decent. Not a whole lot I can do about the little pock marks and stuff in it, but it's better than it was. The dash emblem's in pretty good shape, but a little dirty down in the crevices. You just take a plastic brush to it and See if we can't clean that up a bit. Looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and do the rest of the shiny bits with the steel wool and see how well they clean up. This is looking pretty good, but yeah, you're gonna have to wait till the dash is all back together to see it. And we've got 2 more coats of primer here and another coat of primer on the inside of our dash. It's just about time to hit this bezel with some black trim paint. And for that, I'm using Duplicolor Trim and Bumper Paint with FadeX technology. Fun. This stuff seems to run pretty thin and says 2 to 3, 3 to 4. How many? 2 to 3 light coats. Let's start with number 1. Coat number 1 complete. Let dry. And move into sun. Dry faster. If the sun actually stays out. Now we just lather, rinse, and repeat that process on the other 2 bezels. All right, well, dash is primed. Bezels are painted. And I went ahead and I cleaned up my gauge cluster as best I could. For that, we went ahead and used spray away glass cleaner and a microfiber towel. So I've still got a couple of things to do, like strip and prime the glove box cover, and clean up all the other little odds and ends like the heater controls, so forth and so on. And I'm pretty sure you don't want to watch me sit around and scrub things. So we'll be back when it's time to start laying down paint. Yeah, so Mother Nature, not cooperating with my evil plan to get this dash painted. But after a week of waiting, I think I'm about ready to get some paint thrown on these things. Now, if you remember earlier in the video where I had this whole thing about I had the wrong color paint. Well, I fixed that. So what I've got here is Eurochem Silk Base Coat. I picked that up online from a place called the Coating Store, which they had as close as I could get to the 1967 color, which is the 1968 color. And that color is Dodge Dark Blue Poly, which is exactly the color that we're gonna need. I'm gonna put that dark blue down with this. It's an AeroPro A610 LVLP air gun. So what's that mean? Well, it means that I can take and I can run this gun off of this little compressor and not have to worry about running out of air. Kind of like I did with the first color. I went ahead and painted a sample. This sample piece was actually pretty good practice for me because it gave me my first taste of painting with an actual automotive paint and a metallic to boot. And since we've managed to get a new fitting for our air compressor and make some much needed repairs to our power cord, it's finally time to get some paint on this thing. So I'm gonna set you up, let you watch from a distance because I don't want paint all over my phone. We'll take a look at it after the first coat or so. But then you have to wait till it's all back together to see the finished product. There we go. Not too horrible for a first run. It's a little splotchy. I don't know if you can, you can't really see. There's too much glare. Got a little bit of splotchiness, a little bit of tiger striping. I think I might have been a little far away on this side too. It's not quite as glossy, but overall, I like how the dark blue came out. That's interesting. It's like we got a couple of fish eyes in there. That's okay. This is my first time spraying automotive paint. And those 2 pieces have a different primer on them as well, which might also be causing that problem. So I'm gonna let these flash off. It normally takes 10 to 15 minutes between coats, but it's a little chilly out, so it might be a little longer. So I changed my mind about not showing you the rest of it. I think it came out pretty decent. It's kind of hard to see in the video. We did end up with one little run right here and little pock marks caused by our solvent pop. But I'm not a professional, so I'm happy with that. It's blue. which is what color it should be. I do need to flip this over and paint the other side, but I'm gonna make sure that it's nice and flashed off before I do that. Now, with the other side of that one done, just gonna sit these aside and let them cure overnight, because yeah, only gets to be about 50 in my garage. And I learned with my test panel that it'll take fingerprints even 2 hours or so after the fact. We don't want that. Well, it's been a couple of weeks, and after weather, health issues, and a lot of work, I think I'm finally ready to get this job finished. And my next step is gonna be getting the silver trim painted onto these bezels. I'm gonna be using a method that I learned watching Vice Grip Garage. It involves taking our duplicolor chrome paint, putting it into the cup, and applying it with some sponge brushes. Now, I've never done this before, so I hope that it comes out looking good. We'll see. Not sure how well this is gonna work, but let's give her a shot. Wow, that's pretty decent. It's not perfect, but it'll do. Too much paint in the sponge. It's not perfect, but it's not too bad. I'm gonna go ahead and knock out the rest of these, and I'm gonna get on to the last bit that I need to do before putting it all back together. And that last bit is restoring my dash pad, which I actually think I'm gonna do in its own separate video. So, on to the reveal. Well, finally got this thing done. It's not perfect by any means. I absolutely suck at hand painting and wrapping vinyl, but hey, it looks far better than it did in the beginning. I am happy with that. If you want to see more about this absolutely awesome car, check out the playlist right here. Adios, muchachos. I just found another piece that I probably need to paint to match the dash. You just need to go. Go.